Welcome to part 3 of my pond build series. If you're just jumping in here, last year I excavated a big hole and made an embankment that was the start of this pond. And then last week I lined the pond and stacked a bunch of rocks around the perimeter of the deep section of the pond. The goal for today is to get all of these rocks that I brought up a couple weeks ago put into the pond and get the filter beds in. But like always, it's not going to be easy for me, so we've got to get the pump going and get this water pumped out. So let's get started. All right, last video I had to run this pump off my car battery because I didn't have a 12-volt plug. So I bought one of these. I'll try to remember to put a link in for it. We'll see. Hopefully this works a little bit better. I wonder if it can't put out enough amps. Well, it's good to know. I guess those jackeries, that thing supposedly takes 10 amps. So I don't know if the DC output on the jackeries can pump out that much. So I'm actually kind of glad to have to pump this out because I can stir up some silt in the rain, maybe wash the rocks off a little bit. Like everything I put in there was pretty dirty. I don't know, where you can't get like clean stuff and I don't have water to wash it. I just put the jackery in parallel with the jump starter, and that seemed to make it go fast. I mean, the jackery itself's putting out 124 watts, and who knows how much it's grabbing from the jump starter. So I actually really like this pump. I'm going to put a link to this as well. Alright, so we got good news and bad news, I guess. The good news is that my liner seems to have not been torn by me, but the bad news is we seem to have got some water under here stuck, and my theory is because I left the liner rolled back a bit here, that the rainwater got under it, probably over there. I think what I can do is roll back the liner here, get the pump down there. There should be some carpet, so it won't be a muddy mess, and hopefully get that pumped out a little bit. But I've got the hose under there, I've got the liner peeled back, so I'm getting the water out from under it, and I'm just gonna have to get this all rocked in before I leave. Otherwise I'm just gonna have to keep doing this. As we were bringing these rocks up the hill with a track loader, we pretty quickly ran out of places to store them, so I wanted to take about 5 minutes to just move them closer to where I was working so I wouldn't have to track around so much. Alright, so now the fun part. My strategy is going to be to finish this wall so I can drive out a little bit further with the excavator and hopefully reach things on the other side a little bit better. So I got quite a few questions on the last video. I'm going to try to answer some of the most common ones. Probably the most common was, why are you filling this with rocks? You're not going to have any room to swim. Well, swimming pool might be a bit of a misnomer. I don't really swim. I basically get in the water, maybe sit there with a cocktail and get out. So I don't actually swim that much. It's more of a plunge pool. The next question was, what about mosquitoes? Isn't it just going to be a mosquito pit? And there's going to be a system of pumps and filters that should keep the water moving enough that mosquitoes can't breed on it. There's been some comments that I'm going to puncture my liner. Luckily, the pond already holds water. It's excavated from almost pure clay, so I'm using the liner to keep the sediment and the dirt separate from the filtered water, so if I do puncture it, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. Another comment is, isn't it dangerous with all those rocks? Won't the kids hit their feet? And maybe it's a little bit dangerous, but I've never been one to shy away from that sort of thing. I don't have any kids, so they can't hit their feet, but my general philosophy is that if they stub their toe, they'll learn the lesson and they won't do it again. Another question was, why didn't you make it bigger? I don't know, this just seemed like a good size, plus I'm limited by the reach of the excavator. I could have maybe made it bigger, but it would have been difficult because it's on a hillside and I have to build up one side, so I can't work on it from the other side. So I'm kind of limited by the reach of the excavator as well. Another reason is that the bigger the pond, the more intensive it is to run the filters, and being off-grid, I can't build this massive pond because I won't have the power to run the filters to keep it clean. Another comment was that you should build a waterfall. Yes, we are going to have a waterfall. The skimmer pump is going to pump water around to one side, and it's going to come off of the waterfall back into the pond.
All right, well, the rocks don't seem to be lining up the way that I want, and I'm getting sloppy, so it's probably time to quit. Let's take a look and see what we got done. It was still a fun day. We rebuilt this side here. I'm a lot happier with how it's coming out. It's a lot more sturdy. Yeah, it used to be you'd step on those rocks and they'd wobble, and it just wasn't a good situation. So now these are solid. I mean, they're not going anywhere. And then we got a couple more courses on this side, and some of those aren't where they're going to go. I just put them there to put my blade on. So it's looking pretty good. Let's step back, get the big picture. And let's give you a sneak peek of what's going to be going on. We've got this pump right here is going to go inside that skimmer. I bought that from Barrett. Barrett and his dad, in addition to milling lumber at Outdoor Living Group, they also do water features. So they carry all this stuff. So this is a 24 volt DC pump. It goes inside that skimmer. And then this is a DC bubble pump. So I'm going to have the skimmer, and then I'm going to have probably 2 tubes for bubble pumps that will help filter this. And then we are going to do a waterfall somewhere over there where the excavator is parked, is kind of where the skimmer is going to pump water around and up to a waterfall. So should be pretty cool. Well, folks, thanks for watching, and next video will be a couple rocks and then mostly the filtration and plumbing and putting the gravel in and stuff like that on top of the filters.